Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
I'm not happy.
So no doubt Melvin Capital is in a lot of pain.
There will be carnage, I can guarantee you.
They're starting to have to unwind their longs in order to pay for the pain that they are seeing in these other short positions that are getting absolutely crushed.
A casino-like atmosphere.
It is a corrupt system.
But when they all come to get out of that movie theater because somebody yelled fire, that door is only so big.
Now it's almost become this risk that if you're publicly coming out as a hedge fund and disclosing the stocks that you're against as one trader, as one Twitter user put it, you're at risk of getting Melvined.
The authorities, should they step in?
You know, you have these massive bailouts. You have the Federal Reserve pumping money into failing banks and corporations. And then, I don't know, how many segments did CNBC do to talk about how the market is manipulated by these very companies and banks?
It is a corrupt system.
And now grandma and the little guy have all banded together into a big group, and they've done this to the stocks.
There's a number of different ways that the stock market is manipulated or, artificially moved in one direction or another. I generally think that almost all of it is absolute BS.
Ban social networks to talk about buying short stocks. Right, that's their next move, right? They do it for conservatives.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Round the Nation right here, Waldorf Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. 2022, new start, new year, same old bullshit. That's right. We got lots of stuff to cover, lots of things to talk about, including some fun news. We have Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course. You're going to get my thoughts on that one. We have Chris Matthews in the aforementioned intro that you have heard. A little bit of Chris Matthews here. He's back. Kind of fascinating. We're going to talk about that. We have both good news and bad news in the Capitol riot, at least on the January 6th commission to investigate the riot. And then AOC goes after creepy weirdos. I'm not kidding. And then Ghislaine Maxwell getting dumped, having a bad day. Or, bad week, bad year, bad decade, something like that. Not good. Not good. She's having a very bad time. And so I'm going to get into the details on that one. And then get a little conspiratorial. Oh, interesting. For a show that generally pushes back against conspiracy theories, I have a couple of my own. I wish her well. I wish her well. All right. So, yeah, we should probably dive into it. Should be fun. So let's start out with Marjorie Taylor Greene. All right. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we got her. Down goes Marjorie Taylor Greene. Well, I mean, at least one of her accounts, her personal account on Twitter. Yes, that account, not her representative account, but her personal account has been suspended on Twitter permanently. Now, I don't know why they're calling it a suspension. She was banned, booted, yeeted, whatever you want to call it. Her account was basically taken out behind the house like Old Yeller. Okay, that's essentially it. It's gone. It's gone. It's not coming back. All right, so now how come? Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious. This is the 5th time that she has posted disinformation, COVID disinformation on Twitter. During a pandemic, mind you. All right. Now, on Saturday, Greene tweeted the normal insane Twitter thread, criticizing public health measures imposed during the pandemic. Ah, yes. Those terrible things like, oh, maybe you should, get a vaccine or wear a mask in public and things like that. Well, here's the thing. Margie, nobody likes wearing masks or locking down. I mean, do you think this is how we want to spend our days? Do you think this is how we wanted to spend the last 2 years? I didn't. I didn't want to be concerned that my family and friends who were immunocompromised could get COVID or die. I didn't want to skip out on family gatherings to make sure to protect other people, just in case I came into contact with somebody who had COVID. No, but we did it. We did it because we're not selfish assholes like you. Again, right-wingers who refuse to get vaxxed and mask up. And by the way, and not just right-wingers, anybody. And government officials who, of course, refuse to lock down and offer people the money to survive. Like, for example, $2,000 stimulus checks. That whole thing. Bosses not willing to allow telework if they were able to try to, in order to try to force people back into the office unnecessarily. Because, oh, God forbid, somebody work from home and realize that the office is completely unnecessary. Now, the reason, of course, they want you back in the office is so they can keep an eye on you. Hey, how dare you eat cookies during work? Oh, how dare you? I didn't authorize a bathroom break. No, it's all about control in the workplace. They want to have control over your life and over every single thing that you do. Now, I think that if you do your job and you do your job well and you get your job done, what does it matter if you take a 5-minute break to rest your brain? As long as you get the job done, I don't care. And you shouldn't care. But no. Productivity. If you wait, if you're standing, you're working. Or you're not if you're sitting, you're not working. Sorry. It's that old adage of you have to look busy for the boss or else you're not working. Even if you're getting your stuff done, even if you're an incredibly productive individual, you have to continue to look busy. It's such a ridiculous work culture. Just so ridiculous. But again, those people, they're selfish dickheads, essentially. Now, they'd rather get you back to work in an unsafe environment that could infect you, leading to your loved ones being infected, maybe dying, or getting long COVID symptoms. They'd rather do all that than do what is actually the right thing to do, what is actually moral, which is prioritizing human lives over personal wealth. I know, look at that crazy, crazy communist over here talking about how human lives are more important than CEOs gathering more and more personal wealth. Oh my God. But see, here's the thing. That's the side. The side that Marjorie Toilet Greene works for is not the people. Now she claims, oh, yeah, I'm working for the people. I'm working for freedom. That's what I want. No, she's working for the CEOs. She wants you to get your ass back to work for your shitty bosses without any sort of protection. That's it. Get back to work. Get back to work. Get back to work. CEOs got to make money. My donors got to make money. That's all it is. That's all. By the way, that's the side that the right works for, very, very obviously. Now, the Democrats, they're also on the side of get back to work. I mean, they're all on the side of get back to work. Now, of course, Democrats are like, well, yeah, get vaccinated and then go back to work. Do this, do that, and then you can get back to work. Okay, all right, that's a little bit better. I mean, obviously you should get vaccinated, you should do all that stuff. But at the same time, the Democrats are the ones that are telling kids, hey, Omicron surge. Record number of kids in the hospital with Omicron. You'll be fine. Go back to school. Go back to school, because if the kids are back in school, then you can go back to work. And get back to work. Get back to work. That's what it's all about. And by the way, Democrats are also, no, we can't cancel your student loans. Yes, we're going to kick the can down the road again after pressure. Well, if you can keep kicking the can down the road, then why not just cancel them? You have the power to continuously delay paying them. Well, I mean, who owns our student loans? The government does. They can cancel them. No, we won't. They're also on the side of, no, we can't guarantee universal health care. Whatever happened to at least the public option? Gone, gone, gone. Could have used their powers, during the pandemic or earlier in the pandemic to be able to do that and still probably be able to do it today. No, we won't pay people to stay home anymore. Not at all. No, get back to work, get back to school. Our donors, understand that our donors that, flood both parties with money, they have said, we've had enough with this. We want our profits. That's it. Now, if you think about how the pandemic response has gone, now think about this. It's going to blow your mind. What's going to happen when catastrophic climate change? Oh, right. We're already seeing some of that. What happens when that gets worse? We're going to see the same old response here from feckless politicians, both, and now, feckless politicians on the left and cruel politicians on the right. And that's the situation that we have going on today. Basically, I don't know, let them die, for the stock market. The almighty stonks. And so that's the side that Marjorie Trash Can Greene is on. And anyone else who's telling you that COVID's not a big deal, oh, it's fine, who cares? Just go out, buy more, consume, 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 go shopping. We'll just shop our way out of it, guys. It's fine. No, here's the thing. Hospitals are overloaded with COVID patients. Yes, I understand that the majority of them are unvaccinated. And they have made a choice as a result of, shitty right-wing politicians telling them, oh, and Joe Rogan saying, oh, you shouldn't get vaccinated. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. No, they're clogging up the hospitals. Partly, again, thanks to Marjorie Taylor Greene. And Donald Trump beforehand, before he made his U-turn. Candace Owens, who's selling shit that turns you blue. All this stuff. So now the problem, of course, the big problem with the hospitals is that when you have the hospitals that are clogged up with COVID patients, if you need other emergency services, you're shit out of luck. That's it, you're done. You're done. There's just no room in a lot of different places. It's a disaster, an absolute disaster, driven by some of the worst people in the world that have made this pandemic political. So now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course, she had to put out a statement. And it's absolutely laughable what she said. And you could tell, like the molding that's going on here, the rage. She said that Twitter is an, quote, enemy to America. And they can't handle the truth. Oh, you can't handle the truth. You can't. What truth? Are you saying anything that's true? No, not at all. But then adds, that's fine. I'll show America we don't need them. And it's time to defeat our enemies. Social media platforms can't stop the truth from being spread far and wide. Big tech can't stop the truth. Communist Democrats can't stop the truth. What this has to do with communism? Of course, we're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Anything that she doesn't like is automatically considered to be communism. But wow, let me explain something to Marjorie. Tomato Green? I don't know. I'm coming up with weirdo nicknames for her, if you didn't notice. But Margie, Twitter's a private corporation. All these social media companies are. You know what they're in it for, right? They're in it for the monies. That's it. That's literally the entire purpose of a corporation, is to make money. Money. That's it. Now, the thing is, corporations are not evil. Corporations have no morality. And how long have I been saying this on this show? Over and over again. Corporations have no morality. They're not people. They're not human beings. They don't have moral decisions. Okay? Now, what they are is fictional legal entities whose only concern is, making their shareholders money. That's it. They have a fiduciary responsibility to maximize profit. And so, ironically, both Marjorie Taylor Greene and corporations like Twitter agree that they don't care about human lives. They just don't. One is incapable, and the other was not designed to do so. You can decide which one applies to who, all right? But anyway, look, understand Twitter's position here. Twitter's position is that, hey, look, if we let this rampant stuff spread, these lies, that discourages people from getting vaccinated, well, then we're going to have to deal with the fallout from the pandemic. Now, that fallout is mainly economic for them. And so, and of course, maybe some of the workers can't come into the office anymore because they got to quarantine, they got to isolate. And so, some of their advertisers, of course, not making as much money because people, aren't able to come in and do their work. Again, there's all these far-reaching complications from a major pandemic, a virus that is going around that's just generally bad for business. And so, Twitter's like, well, we got to put a stop to that, obviously. Not only that, but we also have Congress breathing down our necks. And so they're going to ask us why we're continuing to spread disinformation or allowing people to spread disinformation on our platform, even though they can't really legally do anything about it. But it looks really badly. It looks really badly. And by the way, it's not that they're not trying to do something about it, the government. A lot of Republicans are now talking about Section 230, which basically would hold companies liable if you get rid of Section 230 for the content the users post. Ironically, that would also purge a lot of the right wing, because then no company would ever host anything a right winger has to say ever again. And they think, oh, no, if we just get rid of Section 230, that'll make the internet better. Do they understand anything? No, they don't understand anything at all. Even their solutions, they're like, yeah, if we just get rid of Section 230 and hold companies accountable for the things that their users post, that will somehow not lead to all of us being banned. Right. Okay. Sure. But here's the thing, as I said, if Twitter allows this to happen, that's going to be a PR hit, right? Aside from the Section 230 stuff, and that's going to cost some money, it's going to cost some advertisers, et cetera, et cetera. And so ironically, social media companies like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, all them are basically being forced to do the right thing for money. While Marjorie Trump Fluffer Greene is pushing the absolute wrong thing for money. And so understand that when you have this impasse, and that's what it is, it's an impasse, neither side is going to change because they're both getting money. They're both getting, Marjorie Taylor Greene getting campaign donations from crazy, insane anti-vaxxers. And of course, Twitter from advertisers, et cetera, et cetera. Look, nobody's going to change because guess what? Both have money in the line and they don't want to lose it. Now that said, did the facts lie with Twitter in this case? Yes. Twitter is correct in saying, okay, we've given you a lot of chances. You've decided to continue fucking around and pushing it. So I guess at the end of the day, we are left with a situation where we're going to have to ban your ass. All right. And again, corporations, this is not a free speech issue, by the way. Corporations, they have the ability to ban who they want from their platform. You do not have a right to Twitter. You do not have a right to Facebook. You do not have a right to post on YouTube. I know it's a weird thing because so much of the social media really dominates the landscape. And by the way, I'm open to having a discussion about seeing about, okay, well, why don't we have something that ensures that we do all have First Amendment free speech rights online, which of course would be governed by certain rules. You know, you can't threaten people's lives, violence, etc. The same things that really apply to the First Amendment to begin with, and that you can't be removed from in a way. But you know, we can have a discussion on that because I do care about free speech. At the same time, I think it's okay to deplatform some of these idiots, honestly, because what they're doing is ultimately harmful to the discourse. Now, the one thing, of course, that pushes back against that point is the Streisand effect. And we've all heard about that, where basically you try to, you know, make it look like you're silencing something and just giving it more attention. And so that's another, I guess, side effect or negative effect of being able to police some of this online discourse. And so, again, a real discussion that's made in good faith is something that I think we need to have at this point. But again, as far as Twitter is concerned, at this point in time, they can ban whoever the hell they want for whatever they want. And in this case, they're on the side of facts when it comes to COVID. And so I guess at the end of the day, Margie, suck it up and enjoy your ban. Is what it is. Both my parents were corporations. Oh, Marjorie Trump Fluffer Greene. You like that, huh? I'm you know, I'm partial to trash can Greene. But that's just me. All right. Let's move on. We have some more details that are coming out ahead of the January 6th Commission's official report. So, according to firsthand testimony, Donald Trump's eldest daughter, Ivanka, had actually twice begged her dad to put a stop to the violence. In fact, here is a video of Representative Liz Cheney on ABC News on Sunday, I believe, talking about that. Take a look.
We know as he was sitting there in the dining room next to the Oval Office, members of his staff were pleading with him to go on television, to tell people to stop. We know Leader McCarthy was pleading with him to do that. We know members of his family. We know his daughter. We have firsthand testimony that his daughter Ivanka went in at least twice to ask him to please stop this violence.
All right, so now this is both significant and important and not worth a goddamn. Both of those things at the same time, that is quite a feat. Now, let me explain. This is why it's important. Now, the January 6th Commission is basically trying to figure out who knew what during the Capitol riots and how that, you know, who had knowledge of what would happen and how far that knowledge went into the Trump inner circle, especially when it involves people in charge. So if you're a member of the government, and you're fine with fomenting an insurrection, then we would like to know so that you can no longer be in government. That's the thought, all right? So now this confirms, along with other findings, that Trump both knew ahead of time about the riots and also agreed with the aim of the riots, which is, of course, to intimidate Mike Pence into not certifying the election. As I explained in the previous show, it's part of the plan that Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro had cooked up. So now Bannon had admitted on January 5th that all hell will break loose. That is the day before the riots on his podcast. And basically the entire plan here laid out by Navarro in his own memoir, referenced as being the Green Bay Switch. So it's named after a football play. And basically what it is that it was a plan to have Mike Pence, in the analogy, he's the quarterback, right? So he's running the play. And so all he had to do was just run the play by not certifying the election. So, I'm sorry, Green Bay sweep. I said Green Bay switch for some reason. My bad. But anyway, so now he's supposed to delay the certification, which would have led to 24 hours of hearings in which Steve Bannon, Donald Trump, Trump allies, Newsmax, Fox News, OANN, they would just put out nonstop propaganda that alleged and pushed the big lie about voter fraud. Now, this was supposed to happen simultaneously, a whole bunch of recounts in different states, and the whole purpose was to convince the states to recall the electors. Now, they had about 100 congressmen from those respective states. And so these congressmen would then pressure the states, the media would pressure the states, some of the voters would pressure the states in order to replace the electors that elected Biden in the Electoral College and put ones that would vote for Trump. Now, another side effect, of course, would also be that with the election not certified, they believe that Donald Trump, again, no inauguration, so people would believe that Donald Trump was still in power, and it would just make it easier for Republicans to say, we don't know who won, so I guess either we run it again, or we just let Trump take over because Trump won. Effectively, of course, stealing an election away from the Democrats. And so, all right, now here's the thing. Mike Pence didn't play ball. Now you had the rioters, agitated by Rudy Giuliani, Donald Trump, Madison Cawthorn, Marjorie Trader Greene, and the rest. Well, those rioters broke into the Capitol. They broke windows, doors, fought police officers. They shed on the floor after getting swifty. No, they're not cool enough to get swifty. Sorry. And all of this, they threatened violence too. And so all this was an attempt to intimidate Mike Pence. Again, what did they chant when they got inside? They chanted, "Hey, Mike Pence." Now that's after Donald Trump had put out tweets saying, "Oh, I can't believe Mike Pence didn't do the right thing," where he didn't. He refused to not certify the election. He went and certified the election. I can't believe he would do something like that. Why? So again, we know from all of that, Donald Trump, 100% aware. He knew, and he supported the takeover of the country because it means that he stays in power. And that's it. So now we know that. Let's get to why that doesn't mean a damn thing. And it's sadly because of our system. See, aside from people like Liz Cheney, who, by the way, I'm not a fan of Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney's a terrible person. She has terrible politics. And I don't agree with her on pretty much any of her policy positions. But in this case, she's actually correct. Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger and a few others, aside from them, no one on the Republican side cares that Donald Trump tried to steal an election. In fact, according to Navarro, as I mentioned before, they've got 100 congressmen on their side, waiting for Pence to run that play. Use that lie of mass voter fraud through focused propaganda to steal an election. But again, nobody cares. And by the way, the Republican base, 2/3 of registered Republicans, or about 31% of Americans in total, they believe in the big lie. That Joe Biden stole the election from Donald Trump. Among members of that party, 30% polled say that they believe that some form of violence would be necessary to solve the problems in this country. That's millions of people who think, yeah, of course the election was stolen. And you know what? We're willing to use violence to fix it. That's horrifying. Now, you're also not going to be surprised that according to the Public Religion Research Institute, 82% of Fox News viewers believe in the conspiracy, that Biden stole the election, and 97% of OANN and Newsmax viewers believe it. So all of that is, again, primed by propaganda. That's why ultimately, you have so many people, again, who believe it, and that's why a lot of these politicians won't do anything about it. With so many Republican voters that believe in this nonsense conspiracy, their politicians have no choice but to side with Donald Trump. Even if they don't personally believe it, a lot of these people only care about their power. They're afraid of their voters. They're afraid that they're going to get primaried and replaced. And by the way, the people who would primary and replace him are people who actually might believe it, truly. No matter what is revealed by the commission, no high-level person is going to be held responsible. Because it's going to require a party that is MIA. And that's it. It's gone. Republicans are the pro-treason party, and I'm not the only one that's saying that. And I'm not saying it lightly. In fact, in an op-ed published in the Globe and Mail on Friday, Thomas Horner Dixon, an executive director of the Cascade Institute at Royal Roads University of British Columbia, gave a warning to his own country. He said, watch out. The United States is going to become fascist. In fact, he said by 2025, American democracy could collapse, causing extreme domestic political instability, including widespread civil violence. By 2030, if not sooner, the country could be governed by a right-wing dictatorship. We mustn't dismiss these possibilities just because they seem ludicrous or too horrible to imagine. Now, in the op-ed, Homer Dixon also detailed his reasons for what he called the unfolding crisis in the U.S. Now, I would argue, of course, the crisis has been unfolding for quite some time, but he wrote that there had been multiple warning signals and reasons behind the changing political landscape in this country. Among them, he cited stagnating middle-class incomes, chronic economic insecurity, rising inequality, and, of course, right-wing propaganda, like Rush Limbaugh, who he said had, quote, hammered away at the moral authority of U.S. political institutions. He also highlighted that right-wing ideologues were stoking fears of white replacement, like Tucker Carlson, for example, the unwillingness of the wealthy and powerful to pay the taxes and invest in public services or create the avenues for vertical mobility. The op-ed also referred to ex-President Trump, his administration, and Trumpism 28 times. And at one point, Homer Dixon wrote that if Mr. Trump is reelected, even under the more optimistic scenarios, the economic and political risks to our country will be innumerable. So, look, this is frightening. And yet the Democrats right now, what are they doing? They're doing studies and commissions. They're writing strongly worded letters as fascists like Steve Bannon plan and plot. They also refuse to address the issues, by the way, that would lead to this instability, issues that we have in this country right now. We have, again, stagnant wages. Yes, we have student loan debt that the president refuses to forgive, even though he has the power to do so. We have an unaffordable healthcare system. We do not have paid leave. We do not have child care. Wealthy and the corporations refuse to pay their fair share, while we give $768 billion to the military that they don't need. We have corporate rule in this country. That's driving all of these things, and that corporate rule inevitably leads to fascism. That's what's going on here in this country. And if you wanted to defeat Trumpism, if you wanted to defeat that fascism that's lurking around the corner, then you have to defeat that corporatism. So look, overall, Trump's culpability, and I believe he is absolutely culpable in what happened on January 6th. It's not going to matter, though, if we don't fix these issues and prevent people the actual regular working people of this country from falling into and for right-wing fascist ideology. Fix the problems, and you prevent this entire thing. All right. Moving on. All right. Chris Matthews, former head of MSNBC's Hardball, returned to Twitter among reports that Biden's approval rating continues to fall. It is now in the low 40s as Omicron surges across the country. But he's going to come back and he's going to tell everybody the reason that these things are happening. It's because, according to him, we went too far left. Wait, what? Here's how he began his tweet. I want Hardball fans to know how. I appreciate your faith in me. Oh, hold on. Okay, let me just say something. Hardball has fans? Really? Chris Matthews still has fans? Weird. You know what? I think I know who they are. All of them work on Wall Street. The same people that watch CNBC. Turns out that's going to be kind of important as we get into his analysis. And you can't spell analysis without anal. I said it. Because boy, is this opinion going to be shit. He said, 2022 could be a great time to show what we've learned. I tried to warn we were headed too far left. Too far left. That's right. Oh, we warned you. We're going too far to the left. On what planet? Oh, what? Again, you know what? I know the answer, of course. See, in Chris Matthews' world, his little cocktail circuit, full of incredibly wealthy people who think that they're centrist, right? But are actually just economically conservative. Maybe a little socially liberal, but mainly just economically conservative. And by the way, I say a little socially liberal because they're probably going to be the first ones to be like, I can't believe cancel culture and woke culture is taking everything over. Okay, sure. Now, they think things like the child tax credit are terrible. Like, you shouldn't get that. Or, you know, if you do get it, there should be a work requirement. Or that, oh, you know what, you should leave Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk alone because, you know, they're job creators. They're great for the economy. They've made billions of dollars. Why should they pay more in taxes? No. Medicare for all? What are you talking about? We shouldn't have Medicare for all. No, that would inspire people to be lazy, and we can't have that. Yeah. And how dare you say wages should be higher and student loan debt should be canceled? You took out the debt. You should pay that. The thing is, none of the stuff that he theoretically would be mad about, that he would consider to be too far to the left, has actually happened under Joe Biden. I mean, again, the child tax credit, as I mentioned, that's gone. Gone. Just, it ended. So, yeah, that sucks. Bezos and Musk, incredibly wealthy. Guess what? They don't pay their fair share in taxes. People still can't afford healthcare during a pandemic, if they're lucky enough to even be seen by a doctor. The only movement on wages, and we have seen an increase in wages. Why is that? It's because the people took it upon themselves to quit their jobs, to quit their crappy jobs, and to go on strike. Or, you know, that's the two different things that had happened. The mass resignation, and then you had countless worker strikes all over the country where unions starting to flex their power again, and it's wonderful, wonderful to see, and forcing these companies into concessions because during the pandemic, these companies were even more profitable than they had been before, and workers finally decided we deserve a little bit of the pie. Wasn't an act of Congress, wasn't an act of Joe Biden. Can you remember? I mean, during I believe it was one of the first COVID bills under Joe Biden, there was a measure to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. That was the famous Kyrsten Sinema thumbs down. We hadn't seen anything about $15 an hour, which, by the way, $15 an hour, with the rate of inflation that we have now, is now worth about 12. And so, really, I think we should be, at the very least, $22, $23 an hour for a minimum wage. Oh my God, Jeff, that's crazy. How could you? Other countries have that wage, and they're doing absolutely fine. Why can't we do this when we're supposedly the most wealthiest country on the planet? And where you have CEOs that are making millions of dollars in salary. I think they can afford it, y'all. I think they can afford it. And so, yes, we should have a higher minimum wage. We shouldn't even be asking for only 15. 15 was 10 years ago. We'd be asking for much more now, much more. But none of that was done, again, by Joe Biden. And so here's the thing, right? Joe Biden does have a low approval rating. And that's true. Again, he ran on canceling a portion of student loan debt, but then refuses to do so. Combining COVID, which we have Omicron that's running rampant across the country. Now, again, I'm going to be fair and point out how that's not all his fault, obviously. Now, the lack of testing kits, that is his fault. I think that he does lay a lot of blame on that, especially when his administration says, okay, let's keep going. Like, why don't you do the tests so we can get back to work? Do the test, testing. Okay, but where are the tests? Other countries, the government will mail you out tests. Does this government do that? No. No, they don't. Not at all. In fact, Jen Psaki had laughed it off. What do you want us to do? We want to send everybody tests? Yes. Yes, we do. That's the government that's doing their job. That's literally what they're supposed to do. And by the way, he also promised to pass things like Build Back Better. Now, what did we get? We got a very, very heavily corporate tilted infrastructure plan that was passed. And that's it. And yet somehow, Chris Matthews thinks, oh, see, if we wouldn't be in this situation if Joe Biden and the Democrats hadn't gone so far to the left. No. The real solution is we need to go to the right. We need to go even more conservative. We need to go even more right-wing and give the rich everything. I couldn't think of a more out-of-touch DC liberal than Chris Matthews. Now, here's the thing. I actually have come to despise and I used to use this term a lot, but I've come to despise the term shitlib. I think it often gets used by people who seem to want to ally with fascists and don't understand how those same fascists will later on turn on them at some point, and then the rest of us. Don't work with fascists, okay? But for Matthews, I think I'll make an exception because I think Matthews would qualify as one of the biggest shitlibs there is. All right? Let's just say that. Again, this is a guy who claimed that Bernie Sanders, if he had won, was going to march him into Central Park for execution. That's insane. Did you ignore January 6th, Chris? You know, again, that's what the right wanted to do with Mike Pence. They said, hang Mike Pence. What does Bernie Sanders and progressives want to do? They want to give us health care. That's it. Oh, you don't understand. They're the same. The far right and the far left. I can't tell the difference. Get the fuck out of here. No. Now, the provisions, the ones in the original Build Back Better, not the one that was the ones that were pared down. Actually, the original was $6 trillion. I'm talking about the $3.5 trillion. Now, that was championed by Budget Committee Chairman Bernard Sanders. And they were incredibly popular, even among Republican voters, by the way. Allowing Medicare to negotiate prescription drug prices. You know what that poll's at? 95% of Democrats, 82% of independents, and 71% of Republicans. This is according to a Kaiser Family Foundation poll. A different KFF poll found that 90% of the public said, yes, let's expand Medicare to include dental, hearing, and vision. And they said that is a top priority for Congress. A CBS YouGov poll taken back in November found that 73% of adults in the U.S. say that they support federal funding for paid leave. Universal pre-K at 67%. 61% support free community college. Oh, but no. What part of that, Chris Matthews, is far left? Oh, far left. Oh my God, things that are popular with the American people? Far left. Oh my God. No, what part of wanting to protect voting rights, women's rights, workers' rights is far left, Chris? Is too far left. No, this is normal stuff. This is stuff that normal countries do. And they, again, refuse to do it. So now in response, of course, he got ratioed pretty hard. And I want to read some of the responses because these are fun. Muscovy Beast writes, all Matthews is telling you here that he's a right-winger. His wealth and status keep him insulated from most policy effects. So this is just his reaction to what he sees as too far left, based upon his ideology. Don't trust rich people to tell you what's what. True. Rob Rousseau writes, okay, let's get you to bed, Grandpa. I enjoyed that. Left of the Dial writes, centrists need to own Joe Biden's failed presidency. The idea that the Democratic Party moved left in any substantive way is completely dishonest and or delusional. Take some responsibility. True. Now, again, you have these so-called centrists, which are actually just corporatists, like Kyrsten Sinema, Joe Manchin, John Tester, among many, many others. Those are just a few. Well, they're blocking progress. They're actually the ones that are out there hurting the Biden administration. Now, of course, the Biden administration, I tend to believe that they also really don't want these things and are not really fighting for them. Now, that's an opinion. And so you can disagree with me on that, or you can agree with me on that. I just tend to think, well, look, he's not exactly a big, bold person, never ran on big, bold ideas. So when he doesn't do big, bold ideas, kind of tells you that he never wanted to do those big, bold ideas. And that it was just a campaign ploy, to try to beat Trump or something. And more importantly, beat Bernie Sanders in the primary and prevent a Bernie Sanders presidency. Now, speaking of Bernie, the Twitter account People for Bernie tweets, what policies are you against, Chris? Not letting children fall back into poverty? Which, by the way, the child tax credit cut poverty in half. And still, it could have done even more good if more Americans actually had taken advantage of it. It's basically just getting your taxes early in a check, your return. That's it. All right. But he said, they wrote, not letting children fall back into poverty, allowing seniors to chew their food, list them specifically. Star Stuff, Bernie Bro Star writes, I don't think anyone should listen to a man that compared a Jewish senator who just wants everyone to have health care to a Nazi. Hope your last years are as you deserve. Yeah, he did make that comparison. He compared Bernie Sanders supporters to literal brown shirts. Where again, you have the fascists that are on the right wing. Did he say anything about that? No. Christmas cheer Liz Brunig. She's a New York Times writer. Here's what she wrote. Man, I don't think you've got anything to worry about. I think you can sleep so easy. I think things are headed hard right. And it won't be just when Dems get obliterated in the midterms. Now, I hope that doesn't happen, but you can see the writing in the wall. You have very low approval ratings for President Biden. And you have a midterm election. Man, ain't going to be good. Ain't going to be good at all. Now, again, I hope that does not happen. But if and when we do lose our democracy, it'll be because people like Chris Matthews and all the wealthy elites choosing barbarism over what they would consider to be socialism, which is just providing basic social services in return for paying taxes. J.R. Jackson tweeted out, boy, this is some serious Rudy Giuliani cluelessness in this ridiculous tweet. True. And then another person says, hey, the right wing literally tried to overthrow the government, but too far left? Now, look, either Chris Matthews is senile and just completely losing it, or he's auditioning for a spot at Fox News. And maybe it's both. Gotta be a little crazy to work at Fox News. Or at least act a little crazy. All right. All right, so let's go into some, not some very important stuff, but just fun. By the way, I'm reading some comments about Nancy Pelosi. So here's the thing about Nancy Pelosi. I think I read, so I saw an article earlier today talking about how she's probably going to retire soon. You know who's going to replace her? Now I can't think of his name. I literally can't. Hakeem Jeffries. Thank you. You know who Hakeem Jeffries is? Hakeem Jeffries is basically Nancy Pelosi. He raises lots of money and is not progressive. So having Nancy Pelosi quit without anyone who is a progressive to replace her, it's just not going to do anything. So you've got Hakeem Jeffries that is basically already the establishment pick. And the establishment pick is going to take over. And so we're really not going to be able to get anyone that is going to do anything different than Nancy Pelosi. And so the calls to replace her, that would be great to replace her, but with someone better, you know, who's actually progressive. And unfortunately, we don't have a Democratic Party that will do that. There's not actually enough progressives in the Democratic Party to be able to vote to replace someone and to choose someone to replace Nancy Pelosi as Speaker that's actually going to be a progressive. So it just basically, you're just switching faces at this point. But it's going to be the same, what is it? Change on the outside, continuity on the inside. That's what's going to happen. So it sucks. The situation is pretty terrible. The Democratic Party, weak and feckless, and there's going to be really no change. At least not in any of the time that I can see. There is hardly any real progressives in Congress. This is true. There's only a couple, and they are massively outclassed and outnumbered. I think there are some candidates that will do for Pelosi. I'm sure there are other people. There are way better qualified people, and way better people that I'd love to see to replace Nancy Pelosi. But the problem here is the Democratic Party gets to choose that person. And the majority of the Democratic Party sees that it's now Hakeem Jeffries' turn. It's his turn in line. And that's unfortunately how this works. And it absolutely sucks But I know that for Kshama Swant would be awesome. It would be, yes. If wishes were horses, that would be awesome. I would love it. Yes, great. But they're not going to do it. They're just not going to do it. Hear me now, quote me later. We are stuck, and they are going to pick, very, very likely pick Hakeem Jeffries. And it's just because that's who the party apparatus wants, because the apparatus understands that Hakeem Jeffries knows how to raise money. And that's all the party cares about. So understand, I'm not talking about what I want. All of your suggestions are fantastic. I would absolutely love that. Yes, Kshama Swant, AOC, those are all great picks. They won't do it though. And for exactly the reasons that we want those people to take over in those seats, is exactly the reasons why they'll never be let in with the current party infrastructure. Nina Turner, also another excellent pick. Again, absolutely love it. Katie Porter, yes, way better than Hakeem Jeffries. All of these are absolutely great picks, but it ain't going to happen. Not without some major changes within the Democratic Party to, we've got to make those changes in the Democratic Party, kind of like what progressives did in Nevada, taking over the entire party chair. I know some of you aren't for that inside strategy. That's fine. You can apply pressure on the outside. But, there are certainly benefits to both, strategies. All right, anyway, let's move on. Being a congresswoman isn't easy. Not that I would know, not from personal experience, but it appears that if you're young, attractive, and part of the left, you might have a difficult time, at least dealing with right-wing men. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, good example of that. On New Year's Eve, she responded to a right-wing commentator who said some pretty weird things about her vacation photos. So now this is Steve Cortez, previously a commentator for conservative TV network Newsmax, an advisor to former President Donald Trump. He posted a photo on Twitter of AOC and her boyfriend on vacation in Florida. Now, I don't really care. Okay, you're on vacation, have fun. Whatever, right? I don't really care to see you doing vacation stuff. It's great that you do that. It's great that you couldn't actually afford a vacation. I wish most of us could. But at the same time, all right, whatever. But this person, Cortez, decides, no, he's gonna post this. He's gonna write, if leftists like AOC actually thought mandates and masking worked, they wouldn't be frolicking in free Florida. Okay. And then added, her guy showing his gross, pale male feet in public, not at a pool beach with hideous sandals. Okay, that's weird. I mean, look, why bring up his feet though? Like, what's the issue there? Again, I don't want to kink shame. I know there are foot fetishists out there. I think that's totally fine. Do you, man? But I think this coming from this is supposed to be like some sort of slam against Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. It's sort of weird. It's sort of weird and very, very unnecessary. I'm just saying, like, okay. Now, she responded in a fun way. If Republicans are mad that they can't date me, they can just say that instead of projecting their sexual frustrations onto my boyfriend's feet. You creepy weirdos. I mean, look, it's true. It's true. There is that joke going around. Ben Shapiro have something for her feet. Now look, but there's actually a serious point in here. All right. Now she said, it's starting to get old, ignoring the very obvious, strange, deranged sexual frustrations that underpin the Republican fixation on me, women, and LGBT plus people in general. Now, I think that's a very legitimate point. Very, very good point. Not just as it applies to her. Look, I'm sure if you look at it, her inbox is probably full of weird shit. Like, fucked up things people are sending her, right? And not just like horrible death threats and rape threats and just horrible things like that, which unfortunately goes along with being a public figure, especially if you're a public figure who happens to be on the left. But again, there's also probably a bunch of other like weird stuff, you know, odd stuff. And I think that goes without saying that I liken it to what I expect women to experience online when they check their inboxes, you know, just like weirdo guys that they're not quite right. They're trying to get some attention and they're doing it in the wrong way and all that. Just sending creepy stuff. But I imagine her inbox being like that, but 100-fold. So now that said, some are just saying, well, look, AOC, she's just deflecting from the fact that she went to Florida and that she was photographed outside not wearing a mask. Okay, and? Shock, horror. Oh my God, I can't believe she's not wearing a mask in Florida where you don't have to wear a mask outside. You realize she is both vaccinated. She is probably very likely to be triple vaxxed. So 2 vaccines and a booster. And then she's outside and sitting next to her boyfriend. Where's the problem here? What's the issue? I don't see the issue. Okay? I don't get it. By the way, she is not huddled around a giant group of strangers. So it's not as if she's spreading COVID to somebody. And now the other thing is, if she somehow catches a breakthrough infection, what do you think that she would do? She would quarantine. That's what normal people do. I don't see what the issue here is. I don't see what the big problem. But right wing is treating it like it's I gotcha. Oh, gotcha. Oh, you're in Florida. And what's wrong with being in Florida? A lot of people like Florida. I've been to Florida before. Now, I didn't like Florida. It's too hot for me. I kind of like, places a little bit cooler. I think it's a little too humid for me, a little too warm. But some people love Florida as the destination spot. And by the way, going to Florida for a vacation is not an endorsement of the policies of the people who run it. Like, you think Ted Cruz going to Cancun, do you think that he endorses the Mexican government? I mean, is it now, are we at a place where you cannot travel to a certain part of the country, a certain state, or even a certain country for whether it be a vacation or a trip or whatever? And if you do, that somehow that means you're endorsing the people who run the place? Come on. No, there's no way you believe that. Nobody believes that. This is ridiculous. No. Again, going to Florida, perfectly fine to go on vacation. If you want to do that, you want to do that. Look, I know, you know what? I know people who live in Florida. My friend, Farron Cousins, does Ring of Fire. He lives in Florida. Do you think he, because he lives there, endorses everything that Ron DeSantis does? No. He's a gigantic critic of Ron DeSantis. The whole situation, the whole conversation over that and AOC is ridiculous. Just so dumb. It's dumb. And again, she's not going around and purposely spreading COVID around to people like others are. So that said, more fun responses here. Ian Hayworth, an editor for Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire, said this in response, quote, "I definitely do not want to date you." Okay. To which she responded, "I'm glad you felt the need to share that with the world. Don't worry, this is a totally normal thought to have and share as an editor of a right-wing website, and totally doesn't prove my point at all. I hear if you say it enough times, you'll actually start to believe it." So I love the sass, right? And the snappy responses. Because some of these people, some of these right-wingers need a glass of shut-up juice. Seriously. And so, again, she added, "The fact that these people are so creepy/weird, yet are also the ones responsible for shaping the news headlines we all see in media should be really concerning. I don't even want to know what knuckle-dragging thoughts these people have all day while covering women in politics." I think we know. I think we have an idea. And so, again, remember, there's a lot of people on the right who tend to speak about women as if they're second-class citizens. For example, here's Madison Cawthorn.
Madam Speaker, a silent genocide has slipped beneath the conscience of America. Precious works of our Creator, formed and set apart, meet death before they breathed life. Eternal souls woven into earthen vessels, sanctified by Almighty God and endowed with the miracle of life, are denied their birth by a nation that was born in freedom.
Earthen vessels. That's what they are to women. That's what women are to them on the right. Earthen vessels. That's it. No, gee, no wonder he just got divorced. Come on. And again, this is just one of many, many different examples of right-wing men. I remember talking about how there were women on the alt-right that were complaining like, "Oh my God, I can't believe men treat us so badly." Do you know where you are? Do you know the people that you're hanging out with? You realize that these people, they think of you as basically either a sex object that they are entitled to, by the way, or nothing but walking wombs to which they have to police over because you're not smart enough to do it, to police yourself. That's what they think about women. And so what AOC points out is correct. They have no respect for women at all. And a lot of it is just super creepy and weird. Earthen vessel. Give me a break. Fucking weirdo. All right. Last story of the day. I bet Jeff has very pale feet. Typical lib. I have a, you know what? I have a very pale, all of me. So. Guilty. All right. Anyway. To go to Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell is already having a pretty bad year, and it just turned 2022. So now, not only, of course, did Epstein's partner in crime get convicted of 5 counts of sex trafficking children, little girls to who knows where. In fact, she only knows where, so maybe she should start dishing. Potentially, of course, going to prison for a very, very long time. But now to add on to it, she just got dumped in prison. Huh. Now, a friend of Maxwell's, and again, this is the Daily Mail, so it's pretty dubious, but if they are correct, and if the story is correct, apparently the convicted sex trafficker's secretive marriage to a tech entrepreneur named Scott Borgerson had... Borgerson. let me just stop there for a second. Burger King. Props to anybody who gets that reference. All right. So now that relationship had ended over the phone with Maxwell behind bars at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. There's nothing worse than being dumped. Oh, right, being dumped in prison. Fun. According to the source, Borgerson dropped the bomb during a conversation when Maxwell was in solitary confinement, telling his wife of 5 years that he had moved on and was seeing someone else. That someone else, reportedly, this is according to, again, the New York Post, another dubious outlet. But I love this description of the yoga teacher that had, quote, an ass that could crack open a walnut. Okay, then. Hey, I had to read it. You had to hear it. You're welcome. Now, my question is, you know what? I actually have a lot of questions. I have a few. But I didn't know she was married. When did she get married? Apparently 2016. But it was secret. It was very secret marriage. Even more bizarre is apparently they had planned to stay married, if that source is to be believed. So now, according to, again, one of the male sources, Borgerson had planned to stick by his incarcerated wife's side, but yet, according to the source, she was in prison for so long, the marriage, the love just kind of fizzled out. In fact, it's the source said she had been behind bars for 549 days now. It put a terrible strain on the marriage. Oh, that's what strained the marriage. That's what strained the marriage. Not the fact that she's a convicted sex trafficker of children. No. It was the hot yoga teacher with the walnut cracking ass. Yeah, you know, look, it just so happens that she's my soulmate, and I really love walnuts. Alrighty then. Wow. Now, not that she doesn't deserve the bad news, and of course be locked up by the end of the, for the end of time, but let me get to conspiracy time. Here we go. Picture it. 1 month from now, or maybe 2, headlines start popping up with that, that say something like, I don't know, depressed Ghislaine Maxwell takes her own life. Oh, you don't think it could happen? Did we think it was going to happen to Jeffrey Epstein? Maybe we didn't, but here it is. Here we are. She gets dumped in prison after an affair from her secret husband. Had an affair on her. And you don't think that could be used to say, oh, look, of course Ghislaine Maxwell was depressed. She's in prison and she's alone. And that's why she Epsteined herself. Sadly, before she could dish on the people that she had serviced as a trafficker. Now, look, I'm not a big believer in conspiracy theories. You know I debunk them on the show all the time. But there are a few that I'm open to, that I have an open mind about. Aliens. Sorry, I think aliens exist. And Jeffrey Epstein did not commit suicide. No. No way. And so, here, if we see in a month or two, Ghislaine Maxwell being Epsteined, she did not hang herself, right? Well, I mean, let's just say that I wouldn't be surprised at all. I hope I'm wrong. And I hope she dishes on everything and everyone she has ever trafficked a child to. We'll see what happens. All right. Anyway, that was fun. That's all I got for today. So, of course, let me go through and thank you, lovely people, for the super chats the wonderful way to support the show, or one of the many ways. Let's go here and check this out and read some of these. All right. The Musical Boy 93 says it's glorious to see Marjorie Taylor Greene booted from the platform, at least on her regular profile. What a Fruit Loop. True. True. And thank you very much. Gabby Mathis says, sorry I'm late. Happy New Year to the nation, folks. Happy New Year to you as well. Great to kick off 2022 with you fine folks. Dango Bango says, kick the Ferengis and Orions out of politics. Very, very good Star Trek reference. Appreciate that. Let's see. Why isn't Garland prosecuting Trump for the 11 cases of obstruction of justice during the Mueller investigation? Again, very good question. And then Bitcoin alone last year undid 10 years worth of progress. Electric cars did. Square Enix is punishing NFTs, and Roblox pay-to-play formats. That sucks. And I was actually kind of upset about that. Can I elaborate on the alien thing? Yes, very, very quickly. Yes, I believe aliens exist. I believe the universe is too large for just one barely sentient monkey species, that would be us, to, you know, exist at some time. Although there are some questions about the Fermi paradox, which are very, very, you know, scary, the implications of. Thing is how we have not detected any civilizations that are advanced like our own. You could think that, well, maybe there's a big cosmic filter that, you know, once a society develops to such a point where they have, for example, nuclear weapons, that these societies tend to wipe themselves out. Not good. Very scary, or, of course, wiped out by natural processes, what is it, gamma ray bursts, asteroids, of course, which wiped out dinosaurs. We're pretty much due for one any time now. At least, you know, when it comes to the scale of the universe and how long it's existed, all sorts of horrible things out there, ready and waiting to basically destroy our planet and everything on it. Not to mention, of course, what we're doing to our own planet. So, yeah. So I do think aliens exist. But are they to the point of being advanced enough to be able to contact us with such a vast distance involved? I don't know. So, you know, interesting stuff. Pleiadians or Greys. The universe is a very big place, not likely to be contacted by any other aliens. And again, you've got the size, and of course the time, and the time that it takes for conventional messages. But then, of course, you can also think of how much we don't know about physics and the actual universe itself, and how much we're discovering every single day, and what we could discover in the next, assuming we're still here, of course, 500 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years. Again, assuming that civilization survives that long. Yeah. I mean, assuming that, what kind of wondrous technologies and abilities would we have at that frame of time? So, a lot of very interesting questions when it comes to the possibility of alien life. But yes, just to get, you know, a little bit into that and answer your question. All right. Anyway, hopefully that answered your question. So that's it for Super Chats, and I have a couple of shout outs on Twitch, of course. Pup Dragon, thank you for resubbing for a month at tier 1. Hey, you know, thank you for the thank you for being subbed for 3 months. Appreciate that. Yeah, hey, Jeff Snoochie Boochies. Okay. I'm Christina. Thank you for resubbing for 7 months. Appreciate that. And yeah, thank you for the new follows. Gregory S118. thank you for subbing with Prime. Appreciate that. And John's Venn diagram of desire. Thank you for resubbing for a month at tier 1. Appreciate that as well. And Kathleen, thank you. And by the way, Kathleen, on Friday, by the way, donated a hefty amount of bits. So I want to thank you for that. Really, really appreciate it. All right. Oh, one more thing. This is a great comment. Toolman1051 points out, imagine how much further advanced we would be now if it wasn't for the Dark Ages and religion or belief in God. Oh, good stuff. That is such a good question. That's a really good question. If only we knew. If only we knew. All right. Thank you, everybody. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Check out the videos if you were late or didn't see any the stories. You came in a little bit later or whatever, or you had to step out. We're going to have the videos, of course, posted up on our YouTube channel and, of course, on our Facebook page. Please share those. Thank you to our Facebook viewers as well. You know I love you on Twitch and on YouTube. All right, everybody. Love you. Thank you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. See y'all tomorrow.
Please clap.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.